Hello tanks and tankettes, and welcome to a really filthy game. Incredibly filthy. This is CM 1994 and he is 3-marking the VK3002D, which is one of the tier 7 German medium tanks. It's the non-Panther. And although it is generally, I think it's not badly regarded, it doesn't seem to be that popular a machine. But it's actually pretty decent. I think one of the things is its firepower. The Panther gets, of course, the long 75 to work with, whereas this has got the shorter 75 and the short 88. And I think that's probably the main reason why it's not so popular. But in terms of its mobility, in terms of its DPM with this gun, it is actually pretty good. And CM even, said that he rather enjoyed his time 3-marking this thing. But because this is a 3-mark game, and because it's a 3-mark game in a tank with a gun with not particularly good AP penetration for its tier, there's going to be a lot of APCR usage. In fact, there's going to be APCR usage at times when it's so blatantly not needed that even I facepalmed a little bit, but it's still a good game, and it's still going to be a pretty good result. It's just, it's also going to involve a hell of a lot of unnecessary APCR spam, and I know some people really don't like that, and I kind of debated using it just on that basis alone, but it's a lesser seen tank, and it is a very good result in this tank. It's just, you know, it is otherwise what it is. But it's not unique in that regard. If you're trying to seriously 3-mark any tank, I mean, there are some of them where you could do it without the use of APCR, and it wouldn't necessarily be that difficult to avoid using, well, not even APCR, but, you know, whatever the premium ammo is, it wouldn't be that difficult to avoid using premium altogether. But for this sort of gun, yeah, it's kind of necessary. And nobody really enjoys coming up against somebody that's firing full premium. But the onus is, at the end of the day, on Wargaming to fix it, because it's their mechanic to fix, basically. It's not really... I mean, you know, a lot of players are not going to do it because they can't afford to do it, or because they would feel uncomfortable doing it, and that's fine. It's fine to have a conscience about these things, but it's not going to stop people that, you know, do it because they want to do it, or because, in this case, they feel like they have to do it. So yeah, it's absolutely on Wargaming. I placed this one squarely on Wargaming. So he's waiting for these heavy tanks in front of him to fire. He's not top tier. He's got to be careful about the hits he takes. This is towards the upper end of tier 7 medium tanks in terms of the hit points it has, but that AMX could hit him in 4 shells if he's not careful. And in fact, the KV-85, depending what gun they have, that could also be quite painful. So he's deliberately letting his allies take the hits here. He kind of has to, but in doing so, he's hoping to get the damage out quick enough to actually, you know, take these dangerous tanks down and thereby limit the damage that they can continue to do. But so far, he's not had that much luck. He's been struggling with the aim time a little bit, and the aim time on the short 88 isn't great. It is a bigger gun on a medium tank for this tier, and I think the only thing that might have a worse aim time, apart from derp guns, is maybe the T-34-1 with the 100mm gun. That is one, actually, it might be possible to 3-mark without using that much premium ammo. That's like 175 base pen, but you're still going to encounter a lot of enemies where, yeah, the premium ammo will be necessary. So he actually bounces a shell there. The frontal armor on this is not bad. If I remember correctly, this is one of the designs that was drawn up in response to the Soviet T-34, hence it looking a little bit T-34-ish with the sloped frontal armor and rather sloped turret. But ultimately they decided to keep making Panthers and Panzer IVs instead, rather than go for a new... I think this one was a Daimler-Benz design, I can't remember. So with that TS5 coming up behind, he decides to scoot forwards, and there's a nice one-shot for him there, so let's go for that. That was the VK that he couldn't get earlier on. Probably not necessary to use APCR for that. And this next series of shots into the rear of a T-34. Well, at this point it's just throwing credits away. But I suspect CM doesn't really care, because making credits is definitely not the object of the exercise. It is, in fact, to get that lovely 3 mark on the barrel. So he actually gets a fire, which picks him up that kill as well. That's his 4th kill at this point. While all this has been going on, however, they have been pushing heavily on the other side of the map to try and get to their cap. There are a couple of tanks desperately trying to defend, but as you can see, yeah, they do look a little bit overmatched. So it's time to get back and do something about it. So there's the STG, who had come up through the gully, stream, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, his shot misses, but the KV-2 strikes true and manages to nail them, which is a good thing. That's probably the most dangerous tank of the tanks that were pushing. Although, having said that, you know, the KV-13's 85mm isn't bad, as is the gun on the 3485M. And the Scorpion, that's what, a 90mm, so that's a 240 damage hit, potentially. That also could be unpleasant. But it's not hard to kill a Scorpion. It's basically made out of old biscuit tins. So rather than charge headfirst in, he uses the terrain to reposition a little bit. There are still 2 enemy artillery to worry about, and oh well, as it turns out, there's the Jagdpanther as well, and that gun is actually fairly nasty, so that might be a problem as well. And they all just pile on the cap, hoping to rush this as much as possible, and I don't know, there must be a tank wreck there or something, but yeah, he's having to take some slightly hasty shots here, and this gun isn't maybe the best at that, even with the premium chocolate consumable. He's trying not to make it easy for them to sit and aim. But yeah, this is not the most accurate gun, and it's not the best aiming gun, and it certainly doesn't help when you are stunned by artillery. But occasionally RNG will smile on you anyway, as with the shot on the Scorpion. He really could have just fired some HE at that Scorpion. He probably would have killed it a lot quicker, maybe even in just 1 shot. He rolled luckily. But as it was, no, APCR into a Scorpion, totally necessary. This is all bought enough time for the Black Prince to chug towards the cap, but they're getting fairly well chewed apart. They're actually not going to last terribly long. This has come down to being a very close game. In fact, at this point, the enemy team is ahead by 1 tank, although, of course, 2 of those are artillery. That is quickly, however, rectified by a shot into the one-shot T-3485M, and the Jagdpanther is wholly unprepared to deal with somebody driving around them, and that is that. The Lerva, meanwhile, don't ask me what the KV-2's been doing back there, but the Lerva chugged all the way around to the enemy base, and I think eliminated 1 artillery, and that just leaves the remaining M44, who has been firing more than a few shots at CM. Then we have that lovely, lovely shot. Yes, RNG will troll the heck out of you. Even with the completely unnecessary use of APCR, he still manages to bounce one on the M44 somehow. But with that final kill, he is the victor, and also picks up a Pools medal on top of everything else. So that was the 3-mark game, unsurprisingly. An ace tanker, a Leverschleichhose medal, that Pools, not Pools medal, Radley-Walters, there we go, the one that's less than a Pools medal, but still pretty good, 8 kills. And I didn't even see what the other ones were. What was that, a Confederate and a high caliber, I think. Almost 2,000 base XP, over double the next best player on his team, over 4,000 damage done, and it's debatable whether he would have managed that with all AP. Probably not, to be fair. I think there's some of the targets there that he might have been able to do less with, but also some of them it was just completely unnecessary APCR spam. Oh, there will be comments. There are always comments. But yeah, it was, though, a fairly well-played game. I don't think that can be disputed. And if he hadn't done that much damage, it might have been a loss, as well as maybe not securing that 3-mark. But I don't think it would have taken him that long, even if this hadn't been the game, because it does seem like a fairly capable tank. The DPM alone means that it's not that hard to rack up the damage so long as you can actually get the targets that you can pen, and that is the trick. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can do all the usual things down underneath it, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.